I am delighted to share a quick overview of the stages of change theory, as I find it to be one of the most helpful models for understanding personal and organizational change, and as well as leading that change, but also making that change for ourselves. The stages of change are these 5 stages of pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Every single change that we have either already made or are preparing to make goes through these stages, sometimes very quickly, sometimes very slowly. I'll use an example. Let's say a person decides they've heard people talk about a practice of centering prayer, and they're thinking that might be helpful for them. They might want to start a practice of centering prayer, but they don't know much about it. So that's a change they're thinking of making. They've just moved to contemplation. They've moved to contemplation because they've heard about it somewhere, they've read about it, maybe it was being offered at church. So now they're thinking about it. So they're in the contemplation. And in order to move to preparation, they will typically seek more information, either by doing some research, maybe looking up a YouTube video on centering prayer, maybe getting a short book, or they'll have conversations. They'll talk to people. Maybe they know some people that are doing it, and they'll talk to them. How do you do it? What do you do? Why do you do it? What are the benefits? Why might a person do it? And after they get that preparation, that information, maybe some conversations and support, then they will move to action. They will actually try centering prayer. Maybe they'll be able to go to a group or retreat, but they will be in action now. And if they stay with that practice for 6 months, in this theory, that's what maintenance is. Any change we've made for 6 months. So that's just one example. But again, every change, if somebody recommends a book to you, they think it's a great book, you've never heard of the book before, you just move to contemplation. If the book sounds as of interest to you, you might do some preparation. You might do a review of it. You might look at a podcast or listen to a podcast, and then you might actually buy the book and then read the book. So every change, including organizational change, organizations need to go through these stages as well. And as leaders, we need to not make the mistake of rushing people. Let's use that centering prayer example. Let's say I'm a leader in a congregation, and centering prayer has become very important in my life, but it's never been a part of the church, so we've never offered centering prayer programs. But I've decided it's time that we do that. So I come in at the action stage and announce, we're going to start centering prayer gatherings and a program here at this church. Well, that may work, but it often will not. The reason is because the congregation, the organization, the system is in pre-contemplation. They've not been thinking about doing this. And so if I'm going to lead them through the stages of change, I need to go back to the contemplation and say, hey, I've been getting a sense in my conversations with people who are in the congregations that people are interested in exploring some contemplative practices. And I'd like to form a group or have a conversation, maybe at a forum. Anybody come together that would like to see us explore some contemplative practices. And then in that meeting, you might suggest centering prayer or some other practices. You might prepare. You might find out what other congregations are doing. And then by the time you get to action, you have a group, you have support, you prepared, you move them through the stages. The change is going to have a lot more success of moving into maintenance. This also works in relationships. Again, in any system, we need to go through these changes. And the Wellness Circle program itself is based on these stages. And let me just say briefly how that is. The self-assessment is designed to take participants to facilitate that movement from pre-contemplation to contemplation. Often in taking the assessment, God opens up something for them, a whisper comes to them, maybe even a shout, and they move to contemplation. And then they choose something that in that contemplation, there's some shift, some change they want to make. And then they move to preparation. That's the mapping their journey of growth and change. Talking to others in the group about it. The facilitator helps with that, offers support. And then they go to the action stage. And the action stage is when they create their step and they try it out for a week, and then they learn from it. And if it works well, they keep doing it. And eventually they may move to maintenance. If it doesn't go well, something comes up and there was a challenge, they may have to move back to contemplation and preparation, and approach it differently and circle around. So often the stages of change is a spiral, not just a linear process. And for significant changes, it can take a very long time to go through that. And breaking it down into smaller steps will be helpful. So that's a brief overview of the stages change model. I hope it's helpful for you in your own personal change and in leading and facilitating change for others.